Hi everyone, welcome to a new chapter. In this particular chapter we're going to study circles. So you have a fresh start, and if you put in effort and watch these videos and ask questions, I have confidence that you're going to be successful. We're going to start off by just talking about vocabulary, and this vocabulary is really important because we're going to talk about it every day, and in order to understand the mathematical concepts you have to know the mathematical language. It's like before you learn how to score a touchdown, you need to know what the word touchdown means. Otherwise, every time your coach says, score a touchdown, you'll be like, what the heck? I don't know what's going on. Okay, so that's why language is so important. So when I'm talking about how you calculate things, you know what I'm talking about and you are familiar with the ideas. Okay, so by the end of this video, you should be able to identify the types of lines, the types of arcs, and the types of angles in a circle. Okay, so we're talking all about circles and the parts of it. We're going to start with types of lines. Okay, these will probably be the most familiar vocabulary words, but we're going to review them quickly. I'm going to start with the ones you should know already fairly well. The first one is called the diameter, and I'm going to color coordinate these. So the diameter is drawn in purple, and I'm writing it in purple. Okay, the diameter is the distance through the center across the circle. Okay, so it's got to go from one end of the circle to the other, and it's got to go through the center. The other word you should know is what's half the diameter, which half of the diameter is called the radius. Okay, or the radius is the line that goes from the center to the edge of the circle. Now for some new words, or actually, well, one of these isn't completely new. This line right here is called a tangent line. And tangent means just touching at one point. So only touches circle. That's a circle, if you can imagine, at one point. So it like just brushes the circle. Okay, so just touching right there, doesn't cross through the circle. Whereas if you have a line that actually crosses through the circle, so it touches like 2 points and it crosses through, this is called a secant line. Secant, S-E-C-A-N-T. Okay, it crosses the circle. Okay, or you can say it goes through twice, whatever definition you want to write. So that's a secant line, whereas this is a tangent line. Secant is new, tangent you learned in Unit 1. Okay, now for a completely new word, this line here, it kind of looks like a diameter, except the diameter has to go through the center. So this touches two ends of the circle, but it does not go through the center. Or this one doesn't at least. This is called a chord. Okay, a chord is a line that has its endpoints on the circle. Has its endpoints, I'm abbreviating that, on the circle. Okay, so this is important what I'm about to say. I'm not going to write this down, so please listen. The diameter is an example of a chord because it has its endpoints on a circle, but it's a special kind of chord that goes to the center, so we call it a diameter instead of a chord. Okay, but the diameter is an example of a chord. Now before we move on, I just want to remind you some notation here. So let's say I'm asking you to label the diameter. The diameter is a line segment. So if I called this point A and this point B, the name of the diameter would be line AB with a line segment symbol over it. Okay, or if the chord was called CD, again, it's still a line, so this would be line CD. You need to know that notation so you can identify chords and different lines through a circle. Next thing we're going to talk about is types of arcs. So first, what is an arc? And you may know this word in some sense. It means like a curved line. But the more precise definition is it is a segment, so kind of like a line segment, but it's an arc segment. It's a segment on the circumference of a circle. So I'm going to draw an example for you here. So here's a circle. I want a line segment that's on the circumference of this circle. I'm going to use my highlighters to kind of show this here. This is an example of an arc. So it's a curved line. I hesitate to use the word line, but it's a curvy line that's on the circumference, which means it's on the edge of the circle. And there are two different types of arcs. The first one is called a minor arc, which is what I've drawn here. Okay, so this yellow line is an example of a minor arc. And the minor arc is an arc that is less than half the circle. That's why it's called minor. Minor means like small. Half the circle. Where the arc that's longer than half the circle, you might be able to guess what's the opposite of minor. Maybe not. I don't know. It's major. Okay, so the major arc would be something like this green line that's more than half the circle. Okay, so minor arc is less than half the circle. And major arc, let's get a different color. Major arc is the green one. The major arc is more, or the length of it is more than half the circle. This isn't a precise definition, but you get the idea. So the major arc is a long one, the minor arc is a short one. I found this visual I really like. So the minor arc is in blue, the major arc is in orange. And I can move these points A and B around. So like the blue is still the minor arc because it's still less than half the circle. Orange is still the major arc. But here's where we get to about a semicircle. Now it's going to change. So the minor arc is a shorter one, the major arc is a longer one, if that helps. Okay, and we need to know some notation for major arcs and minor arcs so we can talk about them. So let's say I label each vertice. We'll call this X is that point. We'll call this point Y, and we'll call this point Z. Okay, remember the minor arc is what I had in yellow from here to here. So it goes from X to Y. So the way we'd list a minor arc is we call it XY, kind of like a line segment, but we'd put an arc on it. Makes sense. It looks like what it is. Now, a minor arc, you always use 2 endpoints to name it. Whereas a major arc, you're always going to use 3 endpoints. So the major arc that I outlined in green there, we're going to call that XYZ. XYZ with an arc over it. Okay, so you're always going to use 3 endpoints. Or maybe I shouldn't call them endpoints because they're not really on the end anymore. You're just going to use 3 points to name that. And the reason we use 2 for a minor and 3 for a major is because you have to define where the arc is. So for the major arc, if I just said X to Z, that could also mean this minor arc over here. Or it could mean from X to Z this way. So that's why I'm going to use 3 points so it tells me what direction I go in. A minor arc notation is XY, major arc would be XYZ. Both have the arc symbol over it. Okay, before we go on to the types of angles in a circle, I just want to review some quick facts you need to know to be successful in this chapter that you should already know. So formulas, basically. One is for the area of a circle. We're going to continue to talk about that. To find the area of a circle, you're going to take pi, which again is like 3.14 on and on and on, times the radius squared. The circumference of the circle, you have 2 ways to do this. Okay, the first formula is pi times diameter, or you can do 2 times pi times the radius. So basically what this means is you take 2 times the radius. And what's 2 times the radius? It's just diameter. So these are the same thing. Now, the last fact you need to know is that a full circle has a total of 360 degrees. Okay, so we're going to talk about the area of the circle, we're going to talk about the circumference, we're going to talk about angles in a circle, we're going to talk about degrees, we're going to talk about inches, we're going to talk about feet, we're going to talk about so many things. So you need to know those facts to do that. Okay, the last thing we need to talk about is types of angles of a circle. So I'm going to zoom out for this so we can get our nice picture here. And there's this hot mess over here that we're going to go through. Okay, so there's lots of different types of angles, and I'm just going to intro these now so you know the vocabulary, and then we'll talk about them in detail a little bit later. Okay, zoomed in a little bit there. The first type of angle is this red angle here. It's attached to the center, and it's created by shooting out some line segments that go to the edge of the circle. So it's basically constructed from 2 radii. This type of angle is called a central angle, which makes sense because it's in the center, and that's the not precise definition. We're going to talk about these more in depth, but I just want to intro you to the vocab. Okay, next type of angle is like a central angle, except it goes all the way to the edge. So the central angle just goes to the middle. This blue angle goes all the way to the edge, but it's still connected to the ends of the circle. So while this one is made from 2 radii, this one is made from 2 chords. And this angle is constructed from 2 chords here, and the name of it is an inscribed angle. Okay, so it's constructed from 2 chords. And I'm actually going to write that down. So central angle is 2 radii. Okay, well, an inscribed angle is made from 2 chords. Okay, so that's our blue angle and our red angle. Now we have a green angle and a purple angle. So you want to think about what types of lines these are made from, and that's basically how you name them. So like this purple angle here is created from 2 lines that intersect. What kind of lines are these? Well, this purple line only touches at one point, and this purple line only touches at one point. So these lines are tangent lines. So this is called a tangent angle. Where's my E? Tangent angle. Okay, so either of these that are constructed from 2 tangent lines are called tangent angles. Makes sense. It kind of mirrors each other. Whereas this angle here is constructed from the 2 green lines. Okay, these lines cross through 2 times in the circle. So they're created from 2 secant lines. So this is called a secant angle. Okay, secant angle is made from 2 secant lines. Tangent angle is made from 2 tangent lines. Okay, it makes sense here. Okay, so going through that, the inscribed angle is made from 2 chords. A central angle is made from 2 radii, and it's in the center. A secant angle, I'll add on to that, is made from 2 secant lines that intersect. And a tangent angle, again, is made from 2 tangent lines. Okay, those make sense. The only one that doesn't really follow its, what kind of lines it's made from is that inscribed angle. Okay, otherwise central angle goes to center, tangent lines, secant angle, secant lines. Inscribed angle is called an inscribed angle because it's inscribed in the circle. We talked about that word before. So inscribed means it's just like within the circle. So I know that's a lot of vocab, and I don't expect that you have this memorized yet, but I do expect that you study it, and I hope that, the more we use this vocab throughout the unit, the more you're going to become familiar with it. Okay, so I just made this video to expose you to it. Now go and study it, and we'll talk about it every day for the rest of the unit. Thanks for listening.